Hello, good evening and welcome to Camnet TV News. To present, my name is Jeffrey Siambo. Top stories in the news tonight. The UPND alliance backs the US for labeling the PF as a corrupt regime. Financial constraint hiding women's participation in politics. The government to increase social cash transfer funds to beneficiaries. In international news, Rwanda's KAGAME visits troops in Mozambique and confirms mission on course. And in sports news, TEQBALL Federation Zambia hands over 10 tables.
The Camnet October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Bondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
You can also participate via Zoom at 300 kwacha per day.
Make your payments through mobile money for MTN 096 296 5883, for Airtel 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913 000 182 5325, Stanbic Bank, Kablonga branch.
For those living abroad, make payments via Wild Remit. The deadline for payments will be 28 September 2021. Any late payment made after 28 September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
Hello once again, another news in detail. The Home of Joy Foundation has called for collaboration among various stakeholders in the fight against issues of street kids across the country. Speaking during the sensitization and donation program in Lusaka Saturday, organization founder RWANDA says the increased number of homeless children on the street is worrying and requires a permanent solution to curb the vice. Meanwhile, the homeless children in attendance shared various challenges faced in the streets and have appealed to authorities to come to their rescue. More in the following report.
The situation of vulnerable children and adults roaming the streets is a common and familiar sight to most Zambians. These individuals are either begging for alms, abusing drugs, cleaning vehicles, or even terrorizing people walking down the streets. In Lusaka alone, it is approximated that there are around 1,000 children living on the streets, of which 90% being HIV positive, and many of them are addicted to a number of things, among them being streaker, a jet fuel that they sniff to blot out the misery of their situation and survive their lonely and desperate existence. Alarmingly, there are also more and more girls turning up on the streets, some with young babies. During a street sensitization and donation program, Home of Joy Foundation chairperson RWANDA has called for collaboration among various stakeholders in helping these vulnerable children.
We are here to give out some face masks and also sensitize our colleagues, the street homeless children, on the COVID-19 and also the importance of wearing the masks, and also to sensitize them on the dangers of drugs and HIV and AIDS, because we have identified to say they don't have someone to teach them these things and then we neglect them. So we are here to help them sensitize on the dangers of drugs and also just to help them with standard pads and also the face masks, continue also helping them and also the old age, those who don't have someone to take care of them, we do take care of them, and also we also sensitize on the teen pregnancies, especially to the girl child, the dangers of early marriages. What will happen if you get married so early? What are the repercussions? What are the consequences? So we do teach them so that they are informed.
Some beneficiaries of the program have shared their experiences and challenges they face in the streets.
hapo at least amato alingana kuangai ya makuli mwalimu matambisha kulindia masiku mavuto ono muzo teganya mtumo
They say if only authorities that be could provide them with the means of survival and the education, they pledge to leave the streets.
No mwana ndinakwe no mwana ndemumona nalo mazakushibatogo baisa kale ba esmati yakwa tabaleisa kwani kana mena baponi umukumo ofie stashikwetu urupe yama hoda nokushakura mabana felo sokera kufiyenda
And Miss Disability Zambia founder Christabel Namangala highlights the need to provide permanent solution to this challenge.
We understand that in as much as we are different in nature, a disability family is a family that you could join at any point in your life. So we also offer counseling services to people who are moving from a life which has no disability, a life which has disability, to help them understand that when they reach a disability level, it doesn't mean that life ends. Actually, it begins from that point.
Sadly, despite government efforts to intervene in this vice, the number of children on the streets keeps increasing. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Movement for Promoting National Values and Principles Chief Executive Officer Joseph Kunda says the United Party for National Development will demonstrate commitment on the application of national values. Last week, the Speaker of the National Assembly gave a directive to Mr. Jack Mwembu, the Home Affairs Minister, to give a ministerial statement before Wednesday next week on the violent incidents which have engulfed the country. In an interview, Mr. Kunda expects Mr. Mwembu to provide remedies to the violence that has characterized the aftermath of the August 12th general elections. We have more in this report.
For quite some time, talks about ending violence have been preached, with some stakeholders coming together to form a peace accord, but all in vain has violence continued to deepen. This week, the Speaker of the National Assembly directed Home Affairs and Internal Security Minister Jack Mwembu to give a ministerial statement before Wednesday next week on the violence incidents which have engulfed the country. Stakeholders are now hoping that the ministerial speech expected to be delivered by the minister next week will highlight or address national values.
What would be expected of Honorable Jack Mwembu is the prescription or the remedy, so to say, of what could be used to overcome the violence that has characterized the aftermath of the August 12 elections. Now, to provide the healing to the emotional wounds that has engulfed the people, the animosity, the despondency, the dissatisfaction, especially on the part of those who had anticipated that the Patriotic Front led party could win the elections. Honorable Mwembu has an opportunity to unite the country by not only speaking about application of national values, but translating the actual national values into a reality.
Meanwhile, he has urged Mr. Mwembu to seek some advice on how the former Home Affairs Minister, Stephen Kampyongo, handled certain issues.
Honorable Jack Mwembu is not perceiving or viewing Honorable Kampyongo as an enemy or as a person that is opposed to. Instead, he has to look at him as his yoke fellow. They have to work together, actually. And from time to time, they need to exchange notes to find out why certain things were done in a certain way. And then with the passing of time, we would see a lot of progress made in that particular area.
Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News.
The governing United Party for National Development Alliance has charged that it is shameful for the opposition Patriotic Front to trivialize President Hakainde Hichilema's trip to the United States of America. UPND Alliance Media Director Thabo Kamwana believes the trip is more than beneficial to the country because it helped the president engage potential investors. Speaking during a media briefing on the Copper Belt on Saturday, Mr. Kamwana says the fact that President Hakainde Hichilema was invited to the White House is evidence enough that Zambia is being given importance. He has since castigated the former ruling party for promising cheap fuel from Saudi Arabia and the exportation of goods to that country, policies which he said never came to fruition. We have details in the following report.
The former ruling party, the Patriotic Front, is repositioning itself to be a formidable opposition political party in the country to provide checks and balances to the United Party for National Development administration. PF Vice President Kevin Lubinda has been making media appearances and at one of the local radio stations undermined President Hakainde Hichilema's trip to the United States of America. But UPND Media Alliance Director Thabo Kamwana claims that the PF is being irrational in its quest to provide checks and balances, saying President Hakainde Hichilema's trip to the US has been beneficial to the country.
And you can see that already President Hakainde Hichilema is in the USA meeting the people that you failed to meet. You had to bring in a consultant that you paid $5 million. I don't know if it was Lizard or Pani or something like that you paid $5 million to, talk to our lenders and try and get hold of the IMF and World Bank. And President Hakainde Hichilema has gone in one trip. He's met the IMF at the highest level, the World Bank at the highest level. And just yesterday, we had a whooping $18.5 million contribution towards our fight against COVID. This shows you that when a country and leadership is taken serious, the world will recognize. Right now, President Hakainde Hichilema's role on the world stage of politics is something that is recognized.
He says the PF must stop trivial politics because they allegedly failed to fulfill various commitments based on foreign trips, including the famous exportation of goods to Saudi Arabia.
So it is wrong for you to try and trivialize the issue and make it look like it is not a trip worth mentioning or talking about because you feel jealousy about it. We are very sorry for you, Given Luvinda. You, the people of Zambia, rejected. You are the same characters that even went to Saudi Arabia, came back, promised the people of Zambia that you give them fuel for 5,000 kwacha. It never came. You even lied to our gods that they will go to Saudi Arabia. Mbuzi kulaira kutenga ma passport, nothing. They never went anywhere else. And today you can come and sit here and have the audacity to say, no, the trip to the US is ordinary. There's nothing extraordinary about it. There is something extraordinary about it. We got an invite to go to the White House. And every serious nation in this country gets an invite to go to the White House.
He has castigated the PF for engaging the US Embassy over a statement that it was booted out of government due to corruption.
We want to say that that letter that you have written to the embassy by PF is preposterous, to say the least. Because the young people of Zambia voted against corruption. They voted out a regime that was buying expired medication for its own people as a matter of corruption. They voted out a regime that could not recruit young people normally, and yet those that were able to offer bribes and so on, that was all corruption. And the young people of Zambia came together and said, we have had enough of this corruption and we're voting it out. And if you feel that they voted you out because the young people said no to you, the correct answer to you, sir, is that you were a corrupt regime. And you must just relax, because these things are beginning to come out and people will be taken before the courts of law and will know exactly what transpired.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Copperbelt Provincial Chairman for the NDC-led Akafumba faction, George Sichula, has charged that those in opposition claiming that Zambians are regretting voting for the UPND alliance government are frustrated individuals with no vision. Commenting on some statements made by some opposition political parties that the government has failed to deliver its promises such as free education, Mr. Sichula says people must substantiate their criticism. He reiterates that it is not possible to change everything in just 1 month of governing a country. We have more in the following report.
With the high cost of living in Zambia, many continue to share their feeling of hope with the new government in place, hoping things will get better. The majority of citizens in the country continue to struggle for survival. Rebecca Mkombwe, a trader of Lusaka's Bowling area, says she depends on selling vegetables for survival and to educate her 3 children, but things have been bad in the past.
Tuendeko pasogolo kaidi hapa business niyokosa because ya machani makolona amina aenzeko ndrama zavuta business yavuta so tiwishing kuti pametangala mu government kuti vintu vishinjeko business yatu yende pasogolo.
On the other side, critiques from some opposition political parties have deepened, now claiming that the new government only gave false promises in order to seek office.
Our job is to provide checks and balances. The UPND want to start creating an excuse for not being able to fulfill their promises. They made a mountain of promises to which the Zambian people entrust them with the responsibility of being in government. It's expected that they fulfill those promises.
With several critiques coming from some opposition political parties, those in government continue to assure the people of delivering what they promised to the citizens.
Who said that Zambians voted the PF out prematurely and that Zambians are regretting voting UPND into government. Which Zambians, madam? Zambians are very happy, and so far from the decisions that have been made by President Hakainde Hichilema, we are more excited and we are more happy. Expect Zambia to be developed barely 1 month after being voted into government. It takes years to develop a nation, and you see the most important thing is President Hakainde Hichilema has got a vision, he's put it on the table for all to see, including yourself. Okay. There is no company there is no nation which can develop without the small and medium enterprises, without the private sector. So the fact that His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema is talking of empowering the private sector, that's the way to go.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Acting Chief Nyampande says the Patriotic Front should not die in order for democracy to thrive. And the traditional leader is urging members of the former governing party to get on the ground, reorganize themselves to keep the party afloat. The traditional leader was speaking today in Petauke when PF Vice President Given Luwinda paid a courtesy call on her before embarking on party meetings in the area. Meanwhile, the PF is on the ground in Petauke Eastern Province, mobilizing and campaigning ahead of the October by-elections in Lusangazi District and Kaumbwe constituency. And when addressing party officials in Lusangazi District, Patriotic Front Vice President Given Luwinda urged the structures to remain firm. And PF member of the Central Committee in charge of Information and Publicity, Raphael Nakachinda, says President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND have continued to tell lies to the Zambian people.
Shocked that somebody could go and lie like that. I think it's Chito because we need to rescue the country. A president is supposed to be a man or woman of honor. It's actually a president can't be joking and lying at will just to make so-called political marriage. Maona manje maboza ambenda na UN.
So muziwe kuti government napanga hapa mu 12th August taziletea mavuto. Taziletea maloza muziko. Ingati simu za chenjere mwachipani cha PF. Muziwe kuti nabana ku masukulu zamba wapunzisa bimeneyo. So musamalire muzimvesa kuti every day muzifunza bana amupunzisani chani ku school. Ndawa umuntu nzeu zake nizoipa. Ingati yeye afuno chita hivyo akachite iye eka. Asa uze ziko lonse kuti muzambia tisasinta kakumakalidwe. Ziko la Zambia ni ziko la Mulungu. Ziko la Zambia ni ziko lotembenuka. Tinazipeleka isebene wake kuti we are Christian. Inabwa yiti church muno Muzambia. Iya karibu opadwa church ya bwera Muzambia. Manje iya ya bwera chosemo church. Ati values amako. ndiponso alina chikondi ku chipani. So please amene ayimirira baja bonse muwapase ulemu ni bana banu azipereka iwo bene bake kuti nabwera kuti munisevenzese tiwine libe muntu akabwere kuti nabwera ine kuti niluze. So mukapanga ma interviews, please mupange ma interviews a chairman uonesa chikondi kwa imu bonse.
The women's movement has acknowledged that financial constraint has been a major hindrance to women's participation in politics. The only female presidential candidate in the just-ended August 12 general election, Chishala Kateka, shared with Camnet News that putting up a campaign during a general election requires a lot of money, hence it was not easy for her. And non-governmental gender organization coordinating council NGOCC board chairperson Mary Mulenga says they will come up with a fund to help women in politics. Patrick Soko reports.
Women's participation in politics has remained a challenge in the country due to several reasons, among them violence, hate speech, but most of all, financial constraints. In previous elections, Forum for Democracy and Development FDD President Edith Nawakwi represented the women's movement on the ballot not until 2021 when she decided to join forces with the Patriotic Front, a move political activists feel may have affected her ratings politically as well as her chances of leading Zambia. But the year 2021 saw another woman, Chishala Kateka, who made her first attempt in the August 12 general election under the New Heritage Party. She came out number 7, getting 8,169 votes, beating other 9 male presidential candidates. But the only female contender says it was not easy, as the poll took a lot out of her financially. She had to sell her farm to finance the campaigns.
We used our own money to do this campaign. It was not easy. I sold the farm, people put in whatever they could. So now that money is finished, I have no source of income. So that will play a role in determining whether I can manage or not manage, because people have to eat. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So if we can get some funding, then that will be very useful.
She tells these journalists that women need more support to compete favorably.
More women. I know that there have been a lot of casualties in this election, but it's not the end of the world. Let's work together. It's not an impossible task, and people can achieve.
I spoke to non-governmental gender organization coordinating council board chairperson Mary Mulenga, who acknowledges that financial constraint has been a hindering factor to women's participation in politics.
Do receive funding for very specific activities, but when it comes, for instance, to political participation, it is very limiting. And I'll tell you that we have assisted our female candidates, to campaign, but the kind of help has been, for instance, paying for their materials, so flyers, maybe chitenges, t-shirts, so that these women are visible while they are campaigning. But you find that most of the women will tell you that, yes, I appreciate the chitenge and the t-shirt and the posters, but what about the foot soldiers that are actually helping me to campaign? They need food, they need shelter. And I think that is where it becomes a big problem, because for us as an NGO, we are accountable to the people that give us finances. And where receipts cannot be produced, it becomes very difficult.
She explains that donors hardly support political activities, hence the need to put in place strategies to support women in politics.
Going forward, the fund is something that is non-negotiable, because that will be our money. So we are still talking around these issues to see, can we have maybe women, putting in a little money, here and there. I know we tried it before and it didn't work, because people found it very difficult just to part with a little bit of money to go into this fund. But I think it is something that we need to look into, because seriously speaking, lack of finances is a big hindrance, to women participating in politics.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Western Province Minister Kapelo Mbangweta has observed with concern that the province was not given the much-needed attention by previous administrations in terms of infrastructure development. Mr. Mangweta tells Camnet News that most of the projects in the area were discontinued by the previous governments under the context of implementing austerity measures. Hence, the area has lagged behind in terms of development. The minister says the government is determined to develop the area in its quest to steer equitable development. Mr. Mangweta adds that government intends to improve the health infrastructure system in order to reduce the need for transferring patients to other provinces. The provincial minister points out that Western Province urgently needs more hospitals and medical care.
The government in 2013 or thereabout pronounced that Nkema will be a bomber and they will put up houses and offices and everything. They have failed to do that, but on the other side, they transferred then a number of civil servants to go to Nkema. So what has happened then is that these civil servants, on a personal level, they are very much inconvenienced because there is not enough accommodation in Nkema to cater for them, either personal accommodation or office accommodation. Okay, but the services, then the idea was good because you needed to bring services near to the people. Yeah, but then it means that we need to fix that. You can only fix it by building. Okay, the same thing for the university in Namshakeni. If it was pronounced together with the Kapasa Makasa at the same time, or more or less at the same time, why would the other place be open? The other place is still in the soil. The taxes or the mode of funding is the same. And so what it means then is that if the projects in Western Province are not complete, but the source of funding is the same, it means then that the people of Western Province are subsidizing other people. And that's unacceptable. And so when you try then to redress that, then that's where now the issue of you'll be expecting other people to appreciate that, okay, these people are not being selfish, they are simply trying to equalize.
Social scientist Innocent Kolala has advised the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Drug Enforcement Agency and the Financial Intelligence Center to desist from alarming the nation with half-baked information on corruption cases. Recently, the Anti-Corruption Commission revealed that it has received 87 reports of suspected cases of corruption in the aftermath of the August 12, 2021 general elections. Mr. Kolala expects the ACC and other investigative wings to tell the nation the cases which they have taken to court after investigating the suspects and not alarming the nation by coming up with a list of the cases they wish to investigate. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Kolala insists that by issuing mere statements, the ACC is giving confidence to those who are supposed to be investigated, even to start destroying some pieces of evidence. Mr. Kolala says the SEC may risk becoming irrelevant if such cases lack substance, thus the need for the Commission to be careful when making such statements.
How is the Zambian people going to look upon this institution? You know, these are some of the things which I think as our competent investigative wings, I think are supposed to be aware of. And I think we have witnessed before where I think they alarmed the nation of certain cabinet ministers who were arrested. A good example, I think, was Honorable Chitotela, Honorable Chitaruchirufia. I think even another alarm which was given to Honorable Chimbakamwili then. You know, now, eventually what happened is Zambian people were very much expectant to see the outcome of these cases, but eventually it ended up for acquittals. Not even maybe to say no, they are still investigating, not at all, but it ended up on the issue of the acquittals. That's why I think our investigative wing, the Anti-Corruption Commission, we are appealing to you. I think try to work in the background and give us the outcome or the results, as unlike the raw data. I think Zambian people might not be interested with the raw data, but with the right data, which is already maybe in the course of law.
The Zambian Association of Citizen Contractors, ZAC, has hailed the move by the government to empower local contractors in handling local projects. Riding on local government minister Gary Nkombo's call to empower local contractors, ZACE President Mtale Mpepo is optimistic that going forward the construction industry will benefit adequately. Mr. Mpepo has since urged other institutions in other sectors to emulate it in empowering of local enterprises so as to create employment.
Local contractors should be given chance, should be given that participation for them to grow, for the economy also to grow. That is how it is supposed to be. And it will actually enable, Zambians, a lot of youths to be employed. When you give to Zambians, they will consider the youths to work with them. There are so many advantages of having, these works in the hands of the local contractors. Surely, just grading of the road, you should be giving it to foreigners. Just bringing gravel on the road, give it to foreigners. Talking about local government and the rural development, they have been weather friendly in as far as the local contractors are concerned. So we see also Honorable Ngombo, continuing where his colleagues left it from. That is how it is supposed to be. It should even be taken to the higher level. That is how it is supposed to be. Now, RWA emulates from such kind of, relationship between local contractors and yourselves. This is a good example.
Minister of Community Development and Social Services, Doreen Mwamba, says the government will increase the social cash transfer funds to beneficiaries. The Social Cash Transfer Fund currently stands at 90 kwacha per household, 180 kwacha bi-monthly for the able-bodied households. Households with members who are living with disabilities receive a double amount of 180 kwacha per month, 360 kwacha bi-monthly, because households with disabled members incur more costs as these are vulnerable groups that need special attention and care. Speaking when she addressed beneficiaries in Luapula province on Saturday, Mrs. Mwamba says the approach will be needed in order to safeguard the plight of citizens.
Violence. President Waka Mabalelanda did the same year. Whoever social cash transfer, but they come Kanyoku Mopela. Yakula Chelwa, Yakula Isa on time. Pantunga Yachelwa, Twala Muletela Mafia, Monganda. Valelunda Po, Padepo Yadi. Our food packs, Lepo Kayadia, Yale Konkanya. Ba Ministry of Agriculture na bena bakesa na ba livestock na bena bakesa amboku mufunde fya kumonesa bifya kutekesa bifya kuchisa chinshi pakwe bati ngamule chitako isabi imbi muleteka kwembushi nutrition kuti ile yako pamulu kudya bwino.
The Department of Immigration has apprehended 154 foreigners for various offences during a clean-up operation conducted together with the Zambia police. Department spokesperson Namati Nshinka says the prohibited immigrants were arrested during an operation conducted on the 24th of September 2021 in different parts of Lusaka. He says among those arrested were 26 refugees who were released unconditionally, 28 who have been mandated to report to immigration headquarters for further investigations and formalities, while 100 have been detained pending prosecution.
The Department of Immigration has apprehended 154 suspected illegal immigrants. This was during a Department of Immigration-led cleanup operation aimed at ridding the city of Lusaka of illegal immigrants. Officers from the Zambia police were on hand to provide reinforcement during the operation, which began in the early hours of Friday 24th September 2021. The areas covered included Great North Road, Great East Road, Chongwe, Kafio Road and Mumba Road. Other areas were Lusaka Central Business District, Kamwala, Chalala, Nyumbayanga, Kabulonga, Baulen and Ibex Hill. Most of those nabbed during the operation did not have any documentation legalizing their stay in Zambia, while some were in abrogation of the terms and conditions of their immigration permits. After the initial screening exercise, 26 refugees were released unconditionally, 28 persons were mandated to report to immigration headquarters for further formalities, while 100 were detained pending prosecution. Those detained were 42 Burundians, 22 Tanzanians, 20 Congolese, 6 Rwandese, 4 Zimbabweans, and 2 Indians. Others were 1 Angolan, 1 Chinese, 1 Egyptian, and 1 Malawian.
You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
In our quest to serve nations and develop Africa, ZAVENDA is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. ZAVENDA Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think ZAVENDA Farms.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
The Camnet October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Bondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
You can also participate via Zoom at 300 kwacha per day.
Make your payments through mobile money. For MTN, 096 296 5883. For Airtel, 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913 000 182 5325. Stanbic Bank, Kablonga branch.
For those living abroad, make payments via Wild Remit. The deadline for payments will be 28 September 2021. Any late payment made after 28 September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. The Chipata City Council has given a 5-day ultimatum to vendors in which they need to vacate the streets and trade from the markets. Chipata City Council Town Clerk Wisdom Walia says most of the vendors have left their trading places in the markets to trade on the streets. Mr. Walia says all marketeers need to trade from inside the markets so that the local authority may collect revenue from all traders. We have more in this report.
The problem of street vending in Chipata district is on the rise, especially outside markets. Street vending is one of the unlawful activities that denies the Chipata City Council its mandate to collect revenue from marketeers. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Assistant Director of Finance and Audit, Andrew Mwinga, toured markets in Chipata district to appreciate the challenges being faced by the local authority. Mr. Mwinga was accompanied by the Provincial Local Government Officer Alex Walia and Chipata City Council Town Clerk Wisdom Walia.
Current state is not a good one, where those in the markets are saying they will not pay because they have seen those outside there are allowed to trade. We need to find a solution, and as quick as possible, because this is a position that the government has to allow the council to discharge its mandate.
These are concerns raised by the marketeers in Chipata district.
Niyakuti setigulisemu lomba misika mene munamanga tisiya titamangira mulodi musiku uno nilipo 63 years nikankale mulodi shuwa pazuva oma itiganizire bangombo ati bangombo ababene bagombo abo babike kwa mano vending ambaye yamene akola this year si vending yabwino kamba kauti abantu bamene bankala panja si bantu bakuti balipe ma market ya mungaone ma benches mwamene ali Siwanga kamba kuti malo mulibe malo alimo bantu bali panja bali na market yao tivomera lamulo ya council kuti tilipire what belongs to the government not kuti tizita squat outside muli mashedu anapangira ise bantu because yazuwa tanzolira zuwa kwa malomba wachoka futo enda kunja. The
town clerk has since given the vendors up to 30th September to go back to their respective markets where they have their trading spaces.
The escalating of this problem, we have no option but to ensure that we come in and correct the situation. And what we are going to do is that next week, probably by Thursday, we are requesting that every street vendor around Saturday market should move and go to where they are coming from.
The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development is working round the clock to ensure that the local authorities in the country collect the much needed revenue that will be used to spearhead the country's national development. Sylvester Shimba reporting for ZANIS in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
The United Teachers Union of Zambia have condemned the demands of dissolving unions in Zambia. And during a media briefing, UNITA's President Paul Chipimo says that disbanding of unions is tantamount to creating chaos and disharmony in the teaching industry as well as the labor movement. This follows the recent calls to merging of the teachers' unions in the teaching fraternity by some teacher unions. Chasefo District Member of Parliament Mishek Nyambose says the current shortage of parking bags by the Food Reserve Agency is attributed to poor leadership by the previous government. Speaking in an interview this morning, Mr. Nyambose has warned the Food Reserve Agency District Manager to ensure the distribution of parking bags to the intended people and desist from corrupt activities in its quest to ensure farmers benefit from their produce. He adds that the UPND and its leadership will ensure zero tolerance to corruption, activities which he said have a negative impact in any developmental agenda.
Tikumane pangani ya ulimi, ngani ya matumba masaka. So tangu wana meeting na upapi huyu kuti masaka ya suzga abantu balima botondeka kuti masaka bagulise mbeu. So takakafundo kuno para maona maofisa kalikose kafikenge mchasefu tose timanye tose tsebezele pamoza kuti tigawe makora masaka waliwose watoleko na mwana gwinu ngapokelanga malipoti banyake ni barabozirwa banyake ni barabakavu bali kufika ku madepo mu July bali kundazi kutondeka kuti waguleko thumba olo imozi mbwenu barawozirwa wosanga masaka nojumpha banyawo nogulisa udangiriri wa imishe kinyambose uyo muli kuika pa mpando ivo vichitikenge yayi.
The Zambia Institute of Architects has underscored the necessity to ensure that procurement entities enhance the engagement of independent consultants to various projects under the infrastructure sector. Institute President Walia Masebo feels this will ensure that there is competitive pricing on most of the projects government is undertaking. Mr. Masebo also proposes that mechanisms around single-sourced tenders and direct bidding are strengthened. He believes utilizing consultants will also help to create jobs for the locals as well as bring skills transfer.
Most of these procurement systems engage independent consultants to run with the projects, as this will ensure that we have competitive pricing on most of these projects. And tenders that are not supposed to be single-sourced should always be subjected to a tender process. Single sourcing can be specific to certain projects that require it. Yes, situations where you need to do that. But generally, I think we should promote the narrative of competitive pricing. Additionally, there is the public-private partnership model that also we need to look at and ensure a bit more transparency on how the model is run. Government needs, or the parties involved need to have stipulated specifications before the project actually goes to site. And also the pricing in PPP procured models should also be subjected to a tender process, so that the cost of projects is reflective to the actual cost that you find in any other project, regardless of it being a private or government project.
And then what are expectations?
This is Camnet TV News. We take another break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
At Savenda Express Printing, we have the capacity to deliver quality in all kinds of printing services timely. Our lines of production include screen printing, embroidery, lithography, and large format printing. We take pride in delivering quality work at very competitive rates with our in-house, highly experienced and qualified designers. With the ability to print full color and embossing prints, our state-of-the-art screen printing machines are able to print 1,000 pieces per hour. Our embroidery machines are able to print any logo with 1 or up to 12 colors all at once and has an output capacity of 100 pieces per hour. Savenda Express Printing also does large format printing for billboards, banners, vinyl, car stickers, posters, tire covers, cups, pens, bags, flasks, packaging boxes, and well, just anything that can need printing. For inquiries, give us a call on 0960 344 471.
Would you like to win some cool cash? Say no more. Stand a chance to win your share of 1 million kwacha. Simply make a transaction from your Zamtel mobile money account and you could be one of weekly winners of up to 10,000 kwacha. Be empowered with Zamtel mobile money. Dial *344# to activate your account. This promotion runs from 28th July to 31st October 2021. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
The Camnet October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Bondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
You can also participate via Zoom at 300 kwacha per day.
Make your payments through mobile money. For MTN, 096 296 5883. For Airtel, 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913-00182-5325. Stanbic Bank, Kablonga branch.
For those living abroad, make payments via World Remit. The deadline for payments will be 28 September 2021. Any late payment made after 28 September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
Welcome back. In international news, a car bomb exploded at a checkpoint near Somalia's presidential palace Saturday, killing 8 people, police said, as the Al-Shabaab jihadist group claimed responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, Rwandan President Paul Kagame visited the northern Mozambican province of Cabo Delgado to reaffirm the importance of collaboration between the two countries. Here's a roundup of international news.
Kagame visited the northern Mozambican province of Cabo Delgado to reaffirm the importance of collaboration between the two countries. Kagame met with President Philippians. Somalia's police have confirmed that at least 7 people, including soldiers and civilians, were killed on Saturday after a suicide car bombing that targeted a security checkpoint near the presidential palace. A Somali police spokesman confirmed that the attack was caused by suicide car bombing. The bombing took place within a kilometer of Villa, Somalia, the presidential palace. The Al-Qaeda-affiliated Al-Shabaab terror group claimed responsibility for the blast shortly after the attack and said that it had targeted a convoy carrying senior government officials heading to the presidential palace. Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda affiliate, was also behind a truck bombing attack in October 2017 in Mogadishu.
It's now time for sports news. In sports news, TEQBALL Federation of Zambia has handed over 10 TEQBALL tables to different clubs as a way to kick off its National League games. Federation President Dickson Jere, speaking during the handover ceremony held at the OIDC, said there are 24 registered teams across all 10 provinces. He said it is motivating to see the sport of TEQBALL attracting a number of sportsmen and women joining, despite it being new not only in Zambia but across the globe. Mr. Jerry indicated that the National League will be the most admirable in the country, in that many people will be yearning to be part of the sport. Meanwhile, teams from OIDC and Olymp Africa showcased TEQBALL demonstrations to the amusement of other clubs which came to collect their tables. And still in sports news, National Olympic Committee of Zambia NOCZ President Alfred Foloko has commended athletes from Taekwondo Federation of Zambia for their amazing participation in the Twirlings Youth Sports Challenge. Foloko says the Taekwondo Federation is doing a tremendous job by engaging athletes as young as 5-year-old in the Youth League, which the OIDC Zambia hosts every weekend. He says the Olympic movement in Zambia is happy to see federations engaging young athletes in different youthful competitions, stating that if well prepared, the young athletes can in future represent Zambia well at local and international games. OIDC on the 25th of September 2021 hosted the Twirlings OIDC Youth Sports Challenge involving 6 sports disciplines, namely netball, taekwondo, TEQBALL, beach volleyball, rugby and handball.
Looking at the age group also that I've seen that are taking part in Taekwondo, I'd like to commend Taekwondo Federation, the candidate, the executive and his team for what they are doing for the country. Also, I love the age group of Taekwondo. I can see that kids as young as 5, 6, 7 are taking part in the sport. I think that's why we should start as a country. We cannot just be recruiting athletes who are already in their 20s. So for us really to do well at international events, we need to have national teams of kids. So the age also matters on how we run our sports in Zambia.
To end Camnet TV main news, we take a look at stories making headlines again. The UPND alliance backs the US for labeling the PF as a corrupt regime. Financial constraints hindering women's participation in politics. the government to increase social cash transfer funds to beneficiaries. In international news, Rwanda's Kagame visits troops in Mozambique and confirms mission on course. And in sports news, TEQBALL Federation Zambia hands over 10 tables. We now look at the Camnet World Verse of the Day, which is coming from the book of Philippians 3, verse 19 to 20, and it reads, "Their end is destruction, their God is their stomach, their glory is in their shame. They are focused on earthly things, but our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for a Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ." Thank you for watching Camnet TV Main News. My name is Jeffrey Zembo. Bye-bye.